BBC News, Bangkok.
Let's speak now to Kerri Murray. She's the president of the disaster relief organization ShelterBox USA, which delivers emergency shelters and essential supplies after disasters exactly like this one that we're seeing. Thank you for joining us. Just given your experience and the various earthquakes, I'm sure, your organization has responded to. How difficult is it to operate in regions like this, and particularly in a country like Myanmar, where we've seen this ongoing conflict there?
It's extraordinarily difficult. So firstly, you have a very densely populated area at the epicenter, right? So potentially millions of people who've been affected between those two large cities. You see everything from tall buildings, the potential that they weren't built to exact standard, and now obviously a massive search and rescue area underway. On top of that, you have massive humanitarian challenges in working in a region that, for many years now has had very limited access to humanitarian actors. A positive is that international assistance and aid has been requested, and for organizations like ShelterBox that provide emergency shelter and essential supplies, we have worked in the region before. So dating back to 2008 in Cyclone Nargis, where we helped tens of thousands of people. Also, as recently as 2013, we've sent teams in 2017 and helping Rohingyas in Bangladesh. So we work in the region. This is what we do. We work in complex disaster situations and significant earthquakes, most recently Morocco, right. Also Turkey, Syria. So this is par for the course for us, but it is very challenging. And it's a race against the time right now to find survivors, and then starts our work, which is emergency shelter and essential supplies.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe ShelterBox is sending a team, at least right now, to Thailand. I mean, what sorts of things then, once that relief effort begins, as you mentioned, are going to be needed on the ground, or, what will your organization prioritize?
Sure. So ShelterBox is a humanitarian relief organization. We provide emergency shelter as well as essential household supplies. So things like the shelter, the tent behind me, really important in catastrophic earthquakes because there's aftershocks, immense trauma, and people do not want to go back into damaged buildings. So for ShelterBox, we've already deployed the response team. We actually have a response team member already in Bangkok. Wow. A team is going of highly skilled responders. They start the coordination efforts. Who's been affected? How many people? What types of needs do they have? We're thinking things like our emergency tents, solar lanterns for power. It could be water purification, stainless steel cooking sets, basic tools, the essentials to put a roof over your head temporarily, and the essentials to set up households quickly. This is what we do.
Given your response, and you mentioned some of these recent earthquakes, specifically the ones we saw in Turkey and Syria, where there was just widespread damage to buildings. I mean, what are you anticipating might come next here? Do you think that these countries should be preparing maybe for, a long period of time where we could see people living in temporary shelters?
Of course. I mean, we're already anticipating tens of thousands of people will need emergency shelter. That's what we're thinking about. The numbers will continue to go up. Again, tall buildings, densely populated, a lot of these collapse. We've just seen in your newscast. So we think that this could be a long road, and there's going to absolutely be gaps to fill, and humanitarian organizations like ShelterBox will be there to help provide shelter and essential aid to families. But you're absolutely right. It is a long road to recovery. It could be several months and years to rebuilding.
You mentioned you have a team, or at least a colleague, already on the ground in Bangkok. Have you heard from them? Do you have any updates coming from the ground?
Yeah, so we've also been in contact with our Rotary partners in Mandalay as well as in Thailand. And right now it's active search and rescue that has to happen first. And then we're starting already the coordination with partners as well as our response team, who will quickly assess, coordinate within the logistics and shelter cluster, and will work to efficiently and effectively deliver aid to people need it any way that we can.
Kerri Murray, the president of ShelterBox USA, thank you for your time, and we wish you all the best, of course, as you respond to that disaster there in Thailand and in Myanmar.